Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Revatkar from Department of Physics, Dr. Ambedkar College, Diksha Bhumi, Nagpur. Today I am talking about introduction of second law of thermodynamics. So, why there is a need of second law of thermodynamics? Now, let me explain you with the example. If we consider a cup of hot coffee, and if we place it in a room which is colder and the cup of coffee is hotter, then in that case we cannot expect that the heat will flow from the cooler room to the hotter cup. Let me explain you with the another example. Now if we transfer a heat to a pedal wheel, that will not cause it to rotate. Another example, if you see that transferring a heat to a wire will not generate electricity. It means that it is not violating the first law of thermodynamics. What is first law of thermodynamics? If we provide energy, or in general we say heat, to the system, then some of the energy will be utilized in doing the work, while the rest of the energy will be going to add to its internal. Now same thing I can show you in the form of the picture. Now see, first a hot coffee, that the coffee is hot and the surrounding is a cooler one. So the other way the heat do not flow, that will be shown by the arrow. Now take example of transferring of heat to a paddle wheel will not cause it to rotate, because the heat will not will directly converted into a work done. The third example, if you see, the transferring of heat to a wire will not generate electricity. So this process cannot occur even though they are not in violation of the first law. Now as per the first law, it is said that whatever energy being supplied to the system will be utilized in doing a work done, and the remaining energy or the excess energy will be stored as a internal energy. But it is not true, because it is not been given a direction. So therefore there is a necessity to think over this, and therefore the second law of thermodynamics come into. The major use of the second law is that the second law may be used to identify the direction of the process. This is very important. The second law also asserts that energy has quality as well as quantity. The first law is concerned with the quantity of the energy and the transformation of energy from one form to another form with no regard to its quality. So therefore the second law provides the necessary means to determine the quality as well as the degree of degradation of energy during the process. So thus we can say that the second law of thermodynamics is also used in determining the limit theoretically to which the performance of the commonly used engineering systems such as heat engine, refrigerator or etc. can be of a chemical reason. Let me explain you the concept of thermal energy reservoir. The bodies with relatively large thermal masses can be modeled as a thermal energy reservoir. As in nature we can see the total the atmosphere, river, lake, ocean. This we can consider as a source of the thermal energy through which the energy can be given back to the earth. The hypothetical body with a relatively large thermal energy capacity that can supply or absorb finite amount of heat without undergoing any change in temperature is called the thermal reservoir. As we know that in practice the such a large body like ocean, lakes, rivers as well as the atmospheric air can be modeled accurately as the thermal energy. Now let us consider an example of a steam power plant. Now in a steam power plant, the amount of heat supplied to the steam in a boiler from high temperature source like a furnace, so that requires a pump, so that through the pump we can supply the heat to the boiler. Similarly, the amount of heat rejected from a steam in a condenser to a low temperature sink, the atmosphere or the river, etc. Now from this we can calculate the output means output work, that will be the amount of work that will be delivered by the steam as it expands in a turbine, and W in amount of work required to compress water to a boiler. So this can be seen from the equation that net work done or work out will be equal to W out minus W. Now W out means the output work that will be obtained by supplying the steam to the turbine, and the W in means the amount of heat in the form of a steam supplied to this steam. So this will shows that a portion of work output of a heat engine is consumed internally to maintain the continuous. So from this we can calculate the efficiency of any heat engine. So here from the diagram, if you see, the high temperature reservoir is maintained at a temperature Th and low temperature reservoir is maintained at a temperature Tl. So QH is the amount of heat that will be supplied to the engine or to the machine, and QL is the amount of heat that will be given back to the reservoir, and W net output, that is the amount of work that will be done. So this can also be calculated in terms of the heat energy, that is W out will be equal to QH, amount of heat supplied, minus QL, the amount of heat taken out. So from that we can say that the efficiency of any engine will be output work output divided by the heat supplied. So if we put down the value of W output as QH minus QL, then we'll get efficiency NTH will be equal to 1 minus QL upon QH. So now the thermal efficiency is calculated as net work output divided by total heat input. So that will be given in the equation as N eta Th equal to 1 minus Q output divided by Q. So we have understood from this that the second law of thermodynamics can not only gives out the amount of heat that will be utilized or that will be taken out from the body, but also it will gives out the direction in which it will goes. So therefore the two statements are very famous for the second law of thermodynamics. The number one statement is Clausius statement. What does it says? That it is impossible to construct a device that operate in a cycle and produces no effect other than the transfer of heat from a lower temperature body to a higher temperature body. Or in other way we can also state that a refrigerator cannot operate unless its compressor is driven by an external power source such as an electric motor. What does it mean? That we cannot develop a machine which can take a heat from the colder space or colder body and it will be delivering the heat to the hotter body. If we want to do this thing, that taking a heat from a colder body and delivering it to a hotter body, then we require some external source, external agency, external device, external power to drive that, because this is against the natural law. So simple example we can take. If we want to fetch water from the ground to the top of any building, maybe 3-story, 4-story, then in that case we cannot do it on its own. We require some electrical machine or electrical pump which can take the water from the ground floor to the top. But if you think other way, in a natural way, then from top to bottom we do not require any force, external agency to send the water from the top to the bottom. So this is what is the statement of the second law of thermodynamics. So to date, no experiment has been conducted that contradicts the second law, and this should be taken as sufficient proof for its. Now let us take an example of refrigerator and the heat pumps. Now in the household refrigerator, that is a domestic refrigerator, the freezer compartment where heat is absorbed by the refrigerant serves as the evaporator, and the coil usually behind the refrigerator. If you see behind the refrigerator, where the heat is dissipated to the kitchen, air serve as a condenser. If we see the basic components of a refrigeration system, then typically we have a evaporator and we have a condenser, and then we have a compressor on the back side, so that we can compress, and the heat will be expanded inside, the heat will be generated, so that heat will be taken out with the help of the compressor. So there is a cartoon wherein it says that the wife is saying, "Honey, are you air conditioning the outdoors?" "No, I am heating the house." It means that when the installed backward, an air conditioner functions as a heat pump. So air conditioners are basically refrigerator whose refrigerated space is a room or a building instead of the food compartment in a. So in thermodynamics, there are two kind of process which are very important to understand the principles and working of the various laws of thermodynamics. The number one process is a reversible process, and number two process is a irreversible process. Let me explain you what is reversible process. A process that can be reversed without leaving any trace on the surrounding. That means the path it follows in a forward direction, the same path will be followed in the reverse direction, so that the net heat is same as that of the initial. So initial condition is maintained by in the reversible process. In an irreversible process, that is not a reversible, that means something that will be happening. So exactly when the body starts from one position, goes to some other position, then again it will come back following some other path. Even in that case, it is losing some of the energy to the surroundings. All the processes occurring in nature are irreversible. Yes, all natural processes are irreversible process. Why we are interested in reversible process? Because they are easy to analyze. They serve as an idealized model to actual process that can be compared. And some processes are more irreversible than others. We try to approximate reversible process. Why? Now let us see about a simple daily life example, that if we have a can of a soda which is maintained at a 5 degrees Celsius, and if it is been placed in a room having a temperature about 20 degree, then we cannot expect that the heat will flow. If you see the first figure, the heat will flow from 20 degree to the other way, the 5 degree to 20 degree, because an irreversible process is a heat transfer process, and an impossible heat is transferred the other way. You can say that from 5 degree to 20 degree, but the 20 degree to 5 degree the heat can. The reversible process are of two type: internal reversible process, if no irreversibilities occurs within the boundaries of the system during the process, and external reversible process, if no irreversibilities occurs outside the system boundary. So total reversible process involves no irreversibility within the system or in its. Now we can see about the Carnot cycle. What is Carnot cycle? Carnot cycle is a simple cycle which is being carried out. It comprises of isothermal expansion and isothermal compression. It also comprises of adiabatic expansion and adiabatic compression. So there are four processes. If we start from, you can see a PV diagram of a Carnot cycle, which is also known as a indicator diagram, which indicates the pressure and volume parameters at any time. So we consider first PV diagram of a Carnot cycle. Then in that case, if we start from a number 1 to point number 1 to point number 2, then if we move from 1 to 2, then it is a isothermal compression process in which the heat is maintained at a temperature TTH, that is a constant. Now if we move, this is a reverse cyclic process. This is a reverse cyclic process because we are following a cyclic path. We are moving from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and again back to 1. So from 2 to 3, if you see, there is a temperature Th, and at a point 3 the temperature is TL, that is a constant. So this process is a adiabatic compression process in which the temperature will fall down. And then from 3 to 4, if you see, again it is a isothermal compression, and then from 4 to 1 it is a adiabatic, you can say that the compression. Yeah, from 2 to 3 it is a adiabatic expansion process. This is what been given over there. You can see from 2 to 3 the temperature drops to TH to TL, that means a adiabatic expansion, and from 4 to 1 it is a adiabatic compression process. So the reverse Carnot cycle, the heat engine cycle is a totally reversible cycle. So therefore all the process that comprise it can be reversed, in which it causes in which case it becomes a Carnot refrigeration cycle. Now we can explain the Carnot principle. So we can see, that is the Carnot first principle. What does it says? That if we have the two engines, one is the irreversible engine and another one is a reversible engine. Now irreversible engine will be taking heat. Irreversible means it will not in a is against the reversible process, that the process in which there is some loss to the from system to the surrounding. Now if you see a high temperature reservoir which is maintained at a temperature TH, from which the irreversible engine will be taking heat QH, and it will be giving back to the low temperature reservoir TL, the amount of heat will rejected will be QL. So, and in case of a reversible, you can see reversible heat engine, then we can see that it can take the heat TL from the low temperature reservoir and giving back to the high temperature reservoir, or the other way also, QH it will be taking and QL it will be rejecting. Then in that case, if you see the efficiency, then the efficiency of a reversible engine will be more. So this can be also says that the efficiency of an irreversible heat engine is always less than the efficiency of a reversible one operating between the same two reservoirs. The efficiency of all reversible heat engine operating between the same two reservoirs are. So Carnot heat engine can be explained by considering the first figure. You see the high temperature reservoir, for example, it has been given the temperature maintained is 1000 degree Kelvin and the low temperature reservoir is maintained at 300 degree Kelvin. So in that case, if you calculate the efficiency, then it is something about 70% efficiency. Now the same example we can see from the second diagram, that high temperature reservoir is at a temperature 1000 degrees Celsius, low temperature reservoir as a 300 Kelvin degree Celsius. Then in case of irreversible heat engine, the efficiency if you see, then efficiency is something about 45 degree. So therefore from this also, if you calculate it by putting in the formulas, eta is equal to 1 minus QL upon QTH for any QH, then we can find out the efficiency. Then from that for this TH high temperature is 1000 degree and low temperature is 300 Kelvin, then the efficiency if we calculate it comes out to be some. So therefore it proves that no heat engine can have a higher efficiency than a reversible heat engine operating between the same high and low temperature reservoir. So here we can see a practical example of a refrigerator, a domestic refrigerator we can see, or any kind of refrigerator. So if you see in the second diagram, so there is a shoe on the back side of the refrigerator. So what does this? This is a condenser, we can say that, and there is a compartment which is called as a compressor. So what does the compressor do? It will absorb the heat from the first diagram. If you see, it will absorb the heat from inside the fridge and it will be expanded inside and compress, and then the heat will be given back, the hot or the energy will be given back to the surround. That is The same example we can explain with the help of the air conditioner. An air conditioner works out on the same principle as a refrigerator. The heat pump operates in a similar. The right hand side of the diagram is inside of the room. Then there are buttons and like that, and outside you can see the hot air that will be given out to the surrounding. So there is a condenser, and then the expansion wall is there, and warm heat will be given back to the out, so that the room will be cooled down. The warm and humid air will be absorbed by the air conditioner, and it will be compressed. Then the cool air will be supplied to the now the third concept we can see is about the thermodynamic temperature scale. How the temperature scale can be maintained. A temperature scale is independent of the properties of a substance that are used to measure temperature. Second Carnot principle, all reversible engines have the same thermal efficiency when operating between the same two reservoirs. That means high temperature and low temperature. If we have a high temperature source and low temperature sink, and if we place the reversible engine in between this, then they have the same efficiency. The efficiency of irreversible engine is independent of the working fluid employed and its properties or the type of reversible engine. So the temperature scale that is independent of the properties of the substance that are used to measure the temperature. Let us take the efficiency, then it is a function of temperature, high temperature and low temperature. Since efficiency is calculated by the formula 1 minus QL upon QH, or QH upon QL is a function of temperature. So we shall consider three reversible engine to derive an expression for the function of temperature at a TH. And so here we have a high temperature source which is maintained at a temperature T1, and low temperature sink which is maintained at a temperature T3. In between we have applied the three reversible engine, heat engine A, heat engine B. Now A will be taking heat Q1 and rejecting heat Q2 to the second engine B, and second engine taking heat Q2 from engine A and rejecting Q3 heat to the low temperature sink. So in between the Q2 will be maintained at a temperature T2, and there is a third engine, that is engine C, which is operating between the temperature T1 and rejecting the heat Q3. So net work done by the heat engine A will be equal to WA, B will be equal to WB, and C will be equal to W. So therefore we can say that from the heat engine A, B and C, Q1 upon Q2 is a function of temperature T1 and T2, because the heat engine A is maintained. Heat engine B is maintained between Q2 and Q3, so it is a function of T2 and T3. And third engine C is maintained between Q1 and Q3, is a function of T1 and T3. Since Q1 and Q3 is equal to Q1 upon Q2 into Q2 upon Q3, so therefore function T1 and T3, that is for the heat engine C, will be equal to function of T1 and T2, that is for heat engine A, into function of heat engine B, that is function of T2 and T3. Since the LHS left hand side of the above equation depends only on temperature T1 and T3, and right hand side must be independent of the temperature T2. So for this to be true, that function of T1 and T2 should be equal to function of T1, that is phi T1 upon phi T2, or f T2 upon T3 is equal to phi T2 upon phi T3. Hence Q1 upon Q3 is equal to phi T1 upon phi 3. In general, for a reversible engine, QH upon QL is equal to function of TH upon T. So as per Lord Kelvin's proposal, that function of temperature should be equal to T, to be defined a thermodynamic scale as QH upon QL for a reversible engine is equal to TH upon T. This is called a Kelvin scale, and the temperature on the scale are called as a absolute temperature. So for reversible cycle, the heat transfer ratio can be replaced by the absolute temperature. So on the Kelvin scale, the triple point of water was assigned a value, as we all know, 273.16 Kelvin. So therefore the magnitude of Kelvin is defined as 1 upon 273.16 K of the interval between absolute zero and the triple point of the water. Since reversible engine are not practical, other methods like constant volume, ideal gas thermometer are used for defining the. Now, now here let me introduce the concept of entropy. Now, what is entropy? Now, why does the heat flow from the hot lava into a cooler water? Could it flow the other way? Is it possible that the reverse process is we can take place? Now, it is easy to convert mechanical energy completely into heat, but the heat cannot be converted completely into a mechanical energy. Why not? So we can see later on in this. So we need to use the second law of thermodynamics and the concept of entropy to answer above. Then what is entropy? Entropy is a measure of molecular disorder or molecular randomness. A system becomes more disorder, the positions of the molecule becomes less predictable and the entropy increases. So unlike energy, entropy is a non-conserved property and there is no such thing as a conservation of. Let me explain you the entropy with the help of the simple example as we come across with the fire cracking. So entropy provides a quantitative measure of disorder. The explosion of the firecracker increases its disorder and entropy. So change in entropy of a system can be calculated entropy at a final state minus entropy of the of the system at the initial state. That can be written in terms of the equation that delta S of the system is equal to S final minus S initial, or can be written as S2 minus S1. So now here we can note that entropy is a property and the value of a property does not change unless the state of the system changes. Therefore, the entropy change of a system is zero if the state of the system does not changes during. So entropy we can say that is a measure of disorder or randomness. So entropy means where there is a randomness or where there is a not orderliness. Okay, so that we can call it as a entropy. So entropy is the lows in solid. Yes, it is lower in solid because the molecules are held in a place, and simply vibrate and highest in the gases because molecules are free to move from here to there. So where the molecules are free. So therefore we can have a statement for the third law of thermodynamics that entropy of a pure crystalline substance at absolute zero temperature 0 Kelvin is 0 since the state of each molecule is known. Now what does it means? Let me explain you. In a crystalline solid, the distance between the two molecules or two atoms or two ions, the constituent of crystal, is fixed. Anywhere you go, if in the crystal, then you can find that the distance will be maintained. So therefore there is no question arise of a randomness. So therefore entropy in case of a pure crystalline system is almost 0 Kelvin. This is what the we should know that what does exactly the entropy means. So the word entropy was created by a German physicist Rudolf Clausius, who has given the second law of thermodynamics, statement of second law of thermodynamics. The word itself has a Greek origin. Its first part reminds us about the energy. En stands for the energy, and the second part tropos, which means a turning point. That means the energy where it will be turning is a entropy, that is the disorderness. The orderliness is broken down is nothing but the entropy. The idea of entropy comes from the principle of course, thermodynamic, where we are dealing mostly with the energy. It usually refers to the idea of everything in the universe eventually moves from the order to disorder. The entropy is a measure of that change. Physicists call it as the use of entropy to measure the amount of disorder in the physical system. Now the same entropy word is used in the information technology also. So what does they say? The entropy is the expected value, average value of the information contained in each message. So it can be considered as a degree of randomness. So let us see in a daily life, real life example. We can say that what is entropy? If there is orderliness and if there is a disorderliness, that the people are randomly stating. So naturally we can say that there is a disorderness that will be more in a playroom and in a classroom as the teacher is teaching and the students are sitting over there. But in a playground, the other way is true. Okay. Now you can see in the bottom example that there is a crystal where the atoms are maintained in a regular distance. In case of a liquid, little bit the distance that has been increased, and in case of a gas, the distance between the two molecules is increased, and the molecules are always in a state of motion. So therefore, in case of a gas, the entropy is more. The same example we can explain here. The first figure, if you see, the atoms are scattered, so high entropy, and in the last frame you can see the atoms are together, so low disorder. So more disorder, more entropy; less disorder, the less. So second law of thermodynamics, from which we can say that the entropy of an isolated system always increases because it is in isolation, or in other words, the entropy can be created but not destroyed. So here you see the SI unit of entropy is joule per Kelvin, which is written as J by K. Clausius also gives a relation between the unit. One Clausius, Cl is equal to 1 calorie per degree Celsius is equal to 1.41868 joule. So from thermodynamics, second law, where the change in the heat is written as dq, and at a temperature T, so ds can be written as change in entropy, can be written as dq upon T. So that is what the entropy is there. So it is a measure of irregularity in a thermodynamic. So their question arises that is there any effect on the entropy if there is a variation in the pressure, volume and temperature? Yes. The change in entropy accompanies not only a variation in the temperature and pressure. That means the temperature varies. If temperature increases, the entropy increases. Pressure, again there is a relation between the change in entropy with the pressure or the volume also, and of the system, but also the physical transformation such as the fusion, vaporization or a transition from one crystalline state to the another state. There is always a record of change in the entropy of the system that takes. So in general we can say that there is a definite change in entropy that is expected if the parameters pressure, volume, temperature are changed. Similarly, the physical parameters such as transformation, such as a fusion, if we fuse two things together, two crystals together, or if we vaporize the crystal, or we can change from one crystalline state to the another crystalline state, there is a definite record in the change in the entropy that will be. So why it is important to know more about the entropy in thermodynamics? Because as we all know that thermodynamics deals with the energy. So therefore entropy is something like a bookkeeping device which tells us about the flow and the distribution of energy. So entropy can give you an idea about how the energy flows and how the energy that will be distributed. So for any process to occur spontaneously, for any spontaneous process to get done, it is necessary condition that the entropy of the system undergoes the process should increase. And also we can say that if the entropy decreases, then that process cannot occur, because we know that the entropy of all the natural process which are irreversible process increases, and if the entropy decreases, then definitely we can say that the process is not a spontaneous. So what is the entropy of an ideal gas for an isothermal expansion, isothermal process in which the heat is maintained? The entropy calculated by simple formula delta S is equal to integration from initial to the final state ds, and ds can be written as dq upon dt, where the subscripts r denotes a reversible path. dq, the subscript r is there. So in isothermal expansion can be a reversible process. Yes, the isothermal expansion ds is equal to delta q r upon temperature T. We find dq using energy conservation and ideal gas. So let me explain you the physical significance of entropy. Entropy is a measure of disorder of the system. We all know about the spontaneous process, which are known to be a irreversible process because all this process takes place at a very fast rate. All the natural process are spontaneous process, and all these process are accompanied by, of course, increase in the disorderness, or other word we can say that entropy. Now we can see this with the simple example that if we hit a metallic rod from one end, and initially all the molecules are present in some order, because in the metals the molecules are in order, but when the heat transfer takes place from hot end to a cold end, disorder of the molecule takes place. This is due to the attainment of the equilibrium, which will make the uniform distribution of energy in the system. Hence, the state of the order of the molecule gets disturbed and gives rise to greater disorder. Hence, spontaneous processes are accompanied by increase in entropy as well as increase in the disorderness of the entropy is classified into four categories: thermodynamical entropy, statistical entropy, entropy of a classical word, and entropy of a. So finally we discuss the applications which can be related with the entropy. So we use Shannon's entropy in the information theory, of course information technology. Now in the quantum Shannon theory provides general theory of the interconvertibility between the different type of communications resources: qubits, C-bits, E-bits, co-bits, and S-bits. Also, entropy as a measure of entanglement. Entropy is a measure of the uncertainty about the quantum system before we make a measurement of the. This is a very important statement we come across, that from the second law of thermodynamics it implies that the entropy of the universe is increasing continuously because energy conservation is not 100%. In ideal case it is possible, but in a natural process it is impossible to keep the energy conservation law strictly. So some heat is always released, and that release heat will go to the surrounding. So entropy can be zero at absolute 0 degree. All atomic motion ceases and disorder of the substance is zero. So entropy is always. So this is my last slide. So let me thank you for having a patience hearing, and now you may get up slowly. Thank you very much.